Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 363 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Geoff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeoffLambert77. We're live here every Friday night, usually at 10:30, but whenever I work the late shift, we got to be here at 11:30 at night. So if you're in the chat, appreciate you staying up late to check us out. Of course, we're on Twitter, we're on Twitch, YouTube, we're on the goingfor2.live website. We're on all major podcast networks. Of course, if you're on YouTube right now, hit that like, subscribe button for us. Really helps us out. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Mr. Tim Strobel. What's up, Tim?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be back for another week. And certainly happy to have Gerson back in the building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course, y'all know Gerson used to be a co-host on this show. Now he comes on as a guest. G, what's up, man?
How you guys doing? Just winding down and gonna have a couple of weeks off work and just enjoy life, man. Football been awesome though. I love football this year. Well, I might not play as much DFS as I want. I've been playing a lot of Prize Picks, so I know you're sponsored by Underdog. I play Underdog, but not as much as the other one because they're 25x. So I like more money, you know.
Yeah, more money is where it's at. Yeah, agreed. All right. Well, so we're going to go ahead and like I mentioned, you just mentioned that we are sponsored by Underdog, but if you play Prize Picks, we still love you. But you check out their best ball leagues, huge tournaments, private leagues, and of course their pick'ems, which everybody loves for all major sports. Use our promo code GF2 to get a deposit match up to $100. It's as simple as that. Download the app, use GF2 as your promo code, and start drafting best ball teams. I know we're getting ready to go into best ball season here pretty soon. And obviously, you can still do your pick'ems. You got NBA pick'ems as well. If you don't play NFL, you can do the NBA ones. So a little bit of everything over there, Underdog. All right, let's go ahead and get into the rewind.
The weekly rewind. Rewind.
Usually, I let one of y'all go first, but I'm going to go first tonight because I wanted to mention one thing real quick. I'll give you my one good, one bad, but I'm going to give you my one really good. So my one good last week was Nico Collins. I said play him anyways. I know people are worried about Patrick Surtain. I said play him anyways, especially after Tank Dell went down. He balled out, absolutely had a career game last week. So obviously he was my one good. I had a nice little game stack of that game as well that paid off pretty handsomely.
Well, to be fair, he was balling out before Tank Dell went down.
He was.
I think Tank Dell went down in the third quarter.
Yeah, he was balling out.
In the first quarter, he hit the Prize Pick but he hit his prop right away.
Yeah, 100%. I think I saw on my phone that he had like a 53-yard catch because I wasn't in front of my TV. And then it happened again, like not that long later. And I was like, oh, I thought maybe it was like a mess up on the notification because it was like the same exact yardage. And I was like, oh shit, this dude's already got 100 yards and it's the first quarter already. My one bad was Josh Downs. He had the 13 targets 2 weeks ago, and I thought he'd be in that same range this past week. Definitely did not pan out. But my one really good that I wanted to mention, if you've been on my Twitter feed or on my Facebook, we did our shopping spree for the DFS for Toys contest. We raised almost $2,000, so we went on a little fun shopping spree. Then we brought all the toys to my daughter's school, who's doing a Toys for Tots drive. And because we were the biggest donator, they invited us on their field trip to go drop off all the toys at the local firehouse. My daughter got to tag along and go see the firehouse and see the fire engines up close. About 30 kids in general. I think the school raised about 600 toys total. We accounted for about 150 toys in that range. So a lot of fun, really cool thing that we did. So appreciate everybody that's in the chat that played in the contest, that donated and all that. So I just wanted to shout that out. Now we can get back to the regular rewind here. And Gerson, why don't you go first here?
First off, I want to give you a shout out, Jeff. You're a good guy, Jeff. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I mean, if you were my dad, which you will never be my dad because obviously you're like 10 years older than me, and that's it. But if you ever were and I went on field and you did that for me and I was a kid, I'd be like, oh, I am the coolest person in the whole freaking grade.
My daughter was a celebrity.
My
they actually do a news broadcast at my daughter's school. Like they have like morning announcements, and they interviewed me on the morning announcements too with my daughter with me. So yeah,
hey, Big Daddy Geoff in the building.
Yeah. So my good call, and it's obviously I'm not on the show, so but I was all over Tyreek. I pounced him on. Well, honestly, I tried to get the early value on props and whatnot, obviously, and I was all over Tyreek. I mean, I thought his number was going up, and I kept clicking his name over and over and over, and Tyreek was my good call. We mentioned our bad calls too right now.
Bad calls
too. Or do you go to? My bad call was the Eagles stack. I was all over the Eagles. It didn't really work out. Even in garbage time, it wasn't even all that exciting. I mean, I think that was the worst game I've ever seen the Eagles play in the last 2 years, to be honest. And mad props to the 49ers. They took it personal, like they did the whole Michael Jordan, and they took it personal.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, that was a fun game to watch. It wasn't fun for those first two drives, but then after we got going, I was like, okay, this is going to be a lot of fun. So, Tim, what you got for your one good, one bad?
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Tyreek. I'd already had him in there, so I couldn't think of something. But he was my lock of the week last week. Obviously, that worked out. It's like last year, every time Justin Jefferson was my lock, he'd go off. This year it's Tyreek. So, but my one bad was Ramondre. I was on him in cash, and that really hurt me. He got like a 4.9 before he got hurt. Players get hurt sometimes, but looking back, it was probably not the best play. It just, but it definitely burned me. I ended up falling a few points below the cash line, and when you have a 4.9, man, it's really hard to make any money.
Yeah. 100%. I dodged that bullet luckily because I was trying to decide between him and cramming in CMC. I think I probably would have been fine because to go from CMC to Ramondre, I was going to go up to Deebo Samuel, which would have been fine because he had 3 touchdowns. But
yeah,
it ended up paying off either way. My cash line did pretty well. So
yeah, going Ramondre over Deebo in hindsight just looks so bad.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead.
I mean.
Yeah, Debo was pretty insane. I think he was 6.2 last week. So if you played Debo, and I was saying Debo was the one to play out of that group. So once again, I hit on the receivers. All right, let's get to the quarterbacks.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right, well, there's really only 2 quarterbacks that we like sort of in this top tier. And Gerson, you're the guest here, so why don't you take one of them?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be the highest owned game, the highest targeted game, for many positions, other than maybe running back, right? But I'm going to go with Josh Allen. The guy scored 46 points the last time he played against the Eagles. He's the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. He's been the number 1 quarterback now for 3 years in a row. People don't realize that. But guy's a monster. Even when he has an ugly game, it's a great game. That's what I hate about him, too. But he can go out there and throw 3 interceptions, and he still goes out there and gets you 46 points,
Yep.
But in this matchup, we've seen these teams play each other, 3 times in the last 3 years at least, in playoff or regular season. Well, I think last year it wasn't all that great. I think it was like a very low-scoring game. I mean, I think it went to overtime, right? I might be wrong, but it was a low-scoring game. But I can't see this game not going over, 50. In part total, but I'm going to have a lot of Josh Allen, but I'm going to try to get different. You have to get different in this game. And I'm going to talk about a couple of the stacks I want to do, but Josh Allen is just so good. He's probably the highest floor next to Patrick Mahomes is just not there this year. Yeah, I'm just going to say that.
The next guy we're going to talk about has got a pretty good floor. Tim, talk about the other guy.
Yeah, just real quick before we move off Josh Allen, he is my top guy as well. Last 2 games against Kansas City, he's had over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So a little bit of defense versus opponent or whatever, BVP, if you will. But yeah, I like that. But it's Justin Fields for me this week. He's probably one of my favorite options. Last 3 games against Detroit, he's had over 100 rushing yards. So clearly, they're actually pretty good against running backs, but apparently they just can't catch Justin Fields. They've also become one of the teams that has given up some of the most passing yards over the last 5 weeks, which we'll save for later. But I'm going to like a certain stacking of option of his a lot as well. But I do think Justin Fields is somebody that if I could get to in cash, I really want to do it. I don't know if I can, but his floor is insane at 6,800.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I heard it on the radio today. A linebacker for the Lions is out, and I can't think of his name right now. But I think that's a pretty big hit as well to that just to the defense in general, but also to trying to slow down Justin Fields. All right, so those are the 2 guys I had in my top tier as well. So I'll kick off the mid tier, and I'll take my boy. I'll take Purdy, Brock Purdy, against at home versus Seattle.
Angeloni.
What was it?
Alex Angeloni. I can't say the last name, but he's the linebacker out. Yeah, he's a big factor for them.
Piece, yeah. So they'll definitely be a boost to Fields. So Brock Purdy at 6.5, obviously a lot more expensive than he has been in the past, coming off that game he had last week. But I do think he's still viable in this range. Now he didn't play. He played well. He didn't score a lot of fantasy points the last time that they played Seattle, which was a short 2 weeks ago. But we know the upside is there. We saw it against Philly, and I do think he plays better at home in general. So I do think that Brock Purdy at 6.5, if you're not going to pay for Justin Fields, which it's pretty close salary, 6.8 versus 6.5. It's hard to click Purdy when you see Justin Fields there. But if you need an extra $300 for whatever reason, I think Brock Purdy is viable here in the mid tier. Let's see. Let's go to Tim. What do you got in the mid tier here?
Yeah, this is a guy I talked about last week. I almost played him in cash, but I did get up to your boy Purdy. But now there's a bigger gap between them, and that makes me more enticed to play Russell Wilson. He's been, as I said last week, he's been kind of quietly cooking. He had a down game last week, and it was still 18 DraftKings points, which is more than the 3x that you need, particularly in cash games. He had a 24 against the Chargers last year. And the Chargers have just honestly been bad on defense, right? They've given up a ton of points to quarterbacks. I had it right here a second ago. Of course, I lost it. But, yeah, they're one of the worst teams against quarterbacks. So at 5,800, I think he's a real good value this week. 29th. EVP. Yep. Yeah. So that's what – yeah. So, I mean, if you look at it, only – Jacksonville on the slate gives up more points to quarterbacks than the Chargers. So, like I said, 5,800, I think he's a real good value play, and he's still going to give you a floor of like 15 points.
Yeah, he's basically Brock Purdy, but not named Brock Purdy. He's the price that Brock Purdy's been most of the year, and has a similar floor. So, yeah, I like that 5.8 price as well.
They're a very different person than in real life.
I mean,
not similar at all.
Fantasy points, floor, and price that Purdy's been all season, they're in the similar range. But yeah, you're right. Different players completely. All right, we'll move down into
in real life. Teammates actually like Brock Purdy. In real life, people don't like Russell Wilson.
Yeah, 100%. All right, we'll move down into the value tier here because I think your mid tiers, Gerson, we already talked about. But go ahead and talk about the value that we have on the slate here at quarterback.
Yeah, I like Jake Browning. I think a lot of people are going to look at that price tag and be like, oh, that's tempting, I can fit in all the guys if I get 5,200. Now, This is not a cash game. I don't play cash game, and I wouldn't call him a cash game player. He's very volatile. We saw him have a great game, right? He scored 29.6 DraftKings points. That was the best point. I mean, obviously his career high, but it also that would have been Joe Burrow's highest score this season. And with this team that he has, elite weapons, Higgins healthy, even though he's a ghost out there. Jamar Chase, and then the tight ends are getting a lot of work. After Burrow got hurt, they kind of adjusted the playbook, and I think they're sticking it with Jake Browning, and Mixon has suddenly become CMC light. He catches balls out of the backfield, even though they're the worst screen passes I've ever seen in my life. It's like you're playing flag football, and they throw it to him, and he hopes he can just make a move.
Yeah.
But I mean, this matchup pretty good too. It's top 8, schedule adjusted matchup. against quarterback. And this is the third highest total on the slate, 44 over under. So, I mean, I'm going to take a chance on him in some GPP. Obviously, it's just to stack the game because we like the wide receiver on the other side. We'll probably mention him later on, but then you can fit a lot of the guys, you know. But this is just GPP. Don't be getting cute, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
I actually do think he will be probably pretty popular in cash because he does rate as the highest point per dollar quarterback on most sites right now. But I agree, he doesn't have the same floor that you'd get from like Purdy or Fields. But what I was going to say is that this is the rare Week 14 Monday night misprice because I think if this game would have been played Sunday afternoon or even Sunday evening, you know, I think Jake Browning is 5,800, right? At least. So yeah, I think because of the pricing, because of how well he did last week, and like you said, it's a good matchup against Indy. He will be one of the highest owned players on the slate. I like the guy on the other side of that, Gardner Minshew. He's a guy I've played a few times this season. I think that game could get pretty interesting. Both teams play pretty up pace. It has, you know, a decent over-under, right, at 44. But even Vegas kind of agrees because it opened at 40 and it came up 4 points.
Yep.
So I think it's going to keep coming up through the weekend. I could easily see this being a, 50-plus point game. And in that case, either Minshew or Browning, one of them is going to smash. So I think you definitely want some exposure to those guys. Like Gerson said, if you play one of them, you can really fit in everybody else.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I had the same guys in the value tier, so I will go ahead and just move right into tight ends.
Did somebody say tight ends?
And I'm going to go ahead and hit the double drop.
Lock it in.
So it's not often that we do a lock it in for the tight end position because we typically like to pay down a tight end. But I will be locking in George Kittle this week. If you go back and look at his game logs, and all his big games have come at home. He had the one game against Arizona that Purdy only threw 20 passes where he had, I think, 1 DraftKings point. But if you look at all the rest of his home games, he's had double-digit fantasy points in all of them. Matter of fact, he's averaging, I think, 18 points at home compared to only 8 points on the road. I think that's, Kittle also likes playing Seattle. If you look at his splits versus Seattle, he had a bad game two weeks ago. But again, they were up big and didn't need him. I do think that George Kittle, at his price point at 5.9, if you want to pay up at tight end, I like Kittle a lot. We've seen his ceiling, and it's just as high as Kelsey's ceiling when he really hits it. I mean, he's had a 150-yard plus game this year already. I could see that happening again this week. So I love me some George Kittle at 5.9 this week. So he was my lock of the week. Tim, why don't you pick one of the two guys you got there?
Yeah, I'm going to take the one that neither one of you had. And I was kind of shocked. This might be one of my favorite plays on the whole slate. And that's the Hawk and Goat, TJ Hawkinson. Everybody wants to talk about, Justin Jefferson's coming back this week. Nah, that's not the way you want to go, right? They've been doubling Hawkinson because they know it's Josh Dobbs' number one target. Justin Jefferson comes back. All that's going to do is draw coverage away from TJ Hawkinson. So at 6K, I think he's an absolute smash play, very similar to where Sam Laporta was last week. You can definitely get to the Raiders with the tight end position. And Josh Dobbs is going to be Josh Dobbs. He's still going to throw it to the tight end. I still think he's going to get 6, 8, maybe 10 targets. And he can absolutely show that he can break a slate with this matchup.
Yeah, I like Hawkinson. I like the plays, all the plays that you have in your elite tier as well as Gerson. Because Kittle was my lock it in, I just left all the other off. Let y'all talk about him. Gerson, you got another guy up there. I'm just going to mention Travis Kelce. He's one of the guys you don't have to mention, where we're just going to mention him and move on. But you got one more guy, Gerson, to talk about in that top tier.
I heard his girlfriend's like a pop star singer or something like that, but I might be wrong. Sam Laporta, I think in this game, with Anzalone being out, I think the Lions defense is going to be a little weaker. And obviously, it's not the greatest defense, I would say. And I think Justin Field might be able to open up that game environment a lot more than the last time they played. I think at the beginning of the season, Justin Field, he was injured and he was also in their first. Did he play in his first game? In that first game against them? I might be wrong, but even if he did, Laporta didn't have the rap, like he didn't have the volume. Now he's getting the volume and targets that he's gotten within the last month or so. I mean, Laporta right now, what, Jeff? He'd probably be a top 3 dynasty tight end. I know we don't talk fantasy, but the guy's been a beast. While I didn't put Hawkinson because I saw you put Hawkinson already, dude. Like I'm like,
there you go.
But it's a good call. But Laporta, I think you can go back and forth with them and see the owner, like with the ownership and stuff, see which way it is. But I don't know which one's the highest right now. I believe obviously Kelsey is probably the highest owned tight end. Actually, I lied. No, someone else. But Kelsey's higher, and then holy crap, Hawkinson is only 3% owned.
Yeah, I like that.
That's all. And then Laporta is 1.7% owned.
Yeah.
So maybe we're talking some contrarian tight ends right here. Maybe that's how we can be different in our build. But give me Laporta. It's gonna be a target monster, and I'm gonna. Yeah, I mean that ownership is just shocking to me. I thought they would be higher.
Yeah. But I think there's 3 tight ends in between the 3.5 and the 4.3 range that are going to be probably the chalk, which is what
that's true.
Down.
Forgot about it. That's true.
Yeah, and everybody wants to pay up at running back this week, so the other positions are getting kind of pushed down.
Yep, 100%.
So obviously we'll talk about that. It's all about standard builds, right? But I love it. You guys know we've said it many times on this show. One of the best ways to get contrarian in tournaments is paying up for tight end.
Yep.
Right. We saw Laporta win tournaments this year. We've seen Hawkinson win tournaments. Obviously, we've seen Kelsey win tournaments. You guys want to get different. That's how you do it.
100%. We'll move down into that mid tier, and there's one guy I'll talk about that is going to be one of the 2 chalky tight ends, and that's David Njoku. Had a bit of a down week last week, so people might be off of him this week, but he gets a good matchup with Jacksonville. He's still only 4.1. He was being heavily targeted up until last week. Actually, still had 6 targets last week, and was second on the team behind the GOAT, Elijah Moore, who had like 12. Most of them were like passes over his head, but he did get 12 targets. But Njoku still, I said, second on the team in targets at 4.1, still a good price. They still want to get him involved. And I haven't heard the latest on Amari Cooper yet, but I know he had a concussion issue. I don't know if he's playing.
Not playing.
He's not playing.
I don't think he's playing.
If he's not
I
playing,
don't think he's playing. But from the report that I heard, I don't think he's playing.
Yeah, so that definitely helps Njoku as well. So he's one of those chalkier tight ends at 4.1. Tim, who you got in your mid?
Yeah, this one I put mainly as a stacking option, and that's Cole Kmet at 4.3. I mentioned how much I like Justin Fields this week. Obviously, he's a cheap stacking option. He's had a couple games this year over 20 DraftKings points, so we do know that he does have that upside. He didn't have such a good game last time against Detroit, only 5 DraftKings points, but he did have a 23 against them last season. So I do think it's possible for him to have a really good game. Like I said, the way to attack Detroit is through the air. The wide receiver we'll talk about later, I think, will be a lot more popular. So I think you can get Kmet. He's not super low ownership. I currently have him as the 5th highest owned tight end, but I still think he's in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree. I have Kmet on my sheet as well. Gerson, talk about the other rookie tight end that's had a pretty good season so far.
Yeah, University of Utah represent. Don Kincaid, man. The guy, well, he's a great athlete, number one. Josh Allen finally realized that, yeah, man, maybe I should just throw it to him. And he makes plays, but it seems the problem with Don Kincaid is that he's just like a catch and drop guy sometimes. Like, he just catches and gets tackled right away. The only way, obviously, it's just like normal football if you're like on a streak and he just beat your guy. But I think this guy, he can take it to another level. I'm waiting. We've seen a glimpse of it, but not like, slate breaking.
Not staying Laporta level yet.
Yeah, not staying Laporta, not, like even Travis Kelce, I guess. But kind of hard to get Travis Kelce level. I mean, when you're dating Taylor Swift, it's really hard. But definitely Kincaid in this game environment. Yeah, definitely Kincaid in this game environment, I'm going to be targeting him a lot because you're basically getting a tight end for a wide receiver, mid-tier wide receiver price. I would not be shocked if this week is a double tight end week. I know there's a lot of good players at running back, but if these tight ends blow up, especially in this game right here, Kelce and Kincaid, that'd be this game's gonna be crazy. I think it's not gonna be a slugfest like last year. This Bills defense is not as good as people make it out to be. I mean, they're 6-6. I mean, if they lose one more game, they'll be okay, but still, that's an ugly 6-7, dude. But and the Chiefs, I mean, they got to turn it around. They want to make the Super Bowl run. Their offense hasn't been all that hot either. Hopefully, this is the game.
Yeah. Let me ask you. I know the answer to this question, but I got asked this question on Twitter, and I was just curious to your thoughts. So there's a chance that Dawson Knox gets activated before this game. Are you worried at all, Dawson Knox taking anything away from Kincaid?
No, because I mean, when you draft Kincaid in the first round and you see what he has, the ability, what he's doing right now, I think they kind of realize, all right, Dawson Knox is just going to be our blocking tight end. You know, he can catch those little short route, but Kincaid, he's more of like a hybrid slot wide receiver. And they knew that when they drafted him, he was going to play basically like a slot wide receiver. I mean, I think in solid football, he had the highest slot wide receiver grade for a tight end.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not going to affect me.
Okay.
Yeah, they were moving away from 2 tight end even before Knox got hurt.
Yeah.
So I think this is the way they're going to try and play, is a lot of 3 wide receivers with just Kincaid.
All right. Move down into the value tier here, Tim, and you have another guy that's going to be pretty chalky. Is that the guy you want to talk about there?
It is. Yeah, he's probably the chalkiest tight end on the slate. He may end up one of the chalkiest players on the entire slate, and that's Isaiah Likely at 3,500. He gets a matchup against the Rams, who are 27th DVP against tight ends. Ravens have the, 4th highest total on the entire slate. And it's a really good spot, a really, good way to get access to one of the highest totals on the slate. I think that's why he will be so popular. And we talked about it. It's also a lot about builds, right? This week, everybody's kind of looking to pay down at tight end. We talked about it all the 4.3. So I think, we have him around 15%. So I still think there's some leverage there in tournaments. But I think he's probably your cash guy, which was my main point.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. I agree. I think he played 70% of the snaps last week, so it's definitely his show. I think he had 4 catches for 40 yards. If he had gotten a touchdown, then it would have been a much better stat line last week. So yeah, at 3.5, he's still very much in play. So I love that call. Gerson, what do you got for your value?
I have Tate on. I didn't really like. I liked all the calls you guys had. I just wanted to be different because I'm like, all right, if I mention their guys, it's just gonna be. But Tate on to me, 3.1K. The guy, if he gets the volume that I think he should get in this game, he should hit that pretty well. And we've seen Tate on have 15-point games randomly, right? It's just to me, I would play those other guys we mentioned over Tate on. If he's more like that low-owned GPP contrarian play.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Likely. I like Brevin Jordan, and even like Njoku because he's not that far off. I think he's 4.1K, right?
Yep.
So, but I mean, I'd rather play those guys over Kate On. Kate On is just more of a low ownership play. It's not really like he's just going to be in my player pool, if you know what I mean. When I run 150 max, I narrow my tight end list to probably like 6 to 7 guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Good call.
I'm just going to mention the last 2 guys, Tim, unless you wanted to talk about your guy at 3,100 there.
Yeah, Gerson mentioned him briefly, Brevin Jordan. He obviously stepped into the Dalton Schultz role last week, 75% of snaps. He was obviously Aaron's sick call last week, which paid off. He's 3,100 this week against the Jets, which is a great matchup. Only the Cincinnati Bengals have given up more top 12 tight end games than the New York Jets. So I think the way that you, particularly with Nico, probably going to see coverage from Sauce Gardner. Mm-hmm. I do think that they're going to have to go to some of the secondary receiving options, which sets up really well for Brevin Jordan. So I think if you're not playing Likely in cash, you're probably playing either Njoku or Jordan.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's get to the running backs.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right, Gerson, why don't you kick us off here on the elite?
I mean, we always say like the elite guys like Travis Kelce, we don't need to talk about him. I don't think you really need to talk about Christian McCaffrey. I mean, the guy's going out there and just owning. He's been owning the league now, like 4 years, at least 5 years. I know he
Yeah.
played in the league longer, but like as that top, he's the top dog. I mean, CMC is the play. There's not very much to say. I mean, Brock Purdy loves him, and then what's his name? The head coach, what is it?
Shanahan, yeah.
He legit like wants to make him happy. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, don't worry. We're gonna get you a touchdown, no matter what. I don't care if we're up by they were up by like 20 points or something, and his touchdown streak was on the line. They still try to find a way to get him the ball. I think CMC is obviously the obvious play, but to me, CMC, I mean, he had a great matchup. He exceeded 20 draft team points in 10 games this year, 5 more than any other running back, to give you an idea. So, I mean, just the tier that you have between him with the other running back, it's way different. And in week 4, he had 51 draft team points. I mean, pretty insane, dude. Like, I'm gonna go with CMC.
The only thing I will add to that, which I completely agree with everything Gerson said, is that in context of the slate, there's none of the really normal high-priced guys, right? There's no Tyreek Hill. There's no CD Lamb, right? Like CMC is kind of on an island. Gerson said not only is he on his own tier in terms of running backs, but I have him 4 points above the next nearest person, which is a wide receiver. So he's far and away one of my highest raw total player on the slate. And I think there's enough value. I agree. You got to play Christian McCaffrey this week.
Yeah. Squeeze him in there. Tim, take the other guy in our top tier there.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara. And this is the one that I think is the biggest question mark on the week, is whether or not Taysom Hill plays. Because if Taysom Hill does not play, I think they're going to lean heavily on Alvin Kamara in this matchup against the Panthers. They're 32nd DVOA. Every team has picked on them. They've given up the most touchdowns to running backs. The only concern for Kamara is that if they get inside the 5, it becomes Taysom Hill time. So if Taysom Hill is out, they're going to feed him. Basically, if you look at their red zone touches, nobody else on the team has hardly any except for Hill and Kamara. So like if Hill's out, it's his show. I could easily see 100 plus and 2 touchdowns, similar to what we saw Derrick Henry do last week. So we'll go back to old school DFS and play team jam them in if Taysom Hill is ruled out, because I will be playing CMC and Kamara.
Yeah, I think I mentioned pregame as well that Derek Carr is also, I think, going to help his value. If Derek Carr is ruled in, he's checked down Charlie. So Kamara will not only get all the red zone and rushing attempts, he'll get at least 5 to 6 targets on the check down. So Kamara could be in a very good spot here for sure.
Yeah, he got a full practice in today, so I'm feeling pretty good about Carr playing.
Yeah, good.
Carr said a couple prayers to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and he decided to be like, "All right, Carr, I got you. You're gonna play."
I know. I hope unfortunately, Taysom Hill's prayers don't get answered this time.
All right.
Well, he is from BYU, so I'm just
yeah, he's got that direct line. I know it's a problem.
All right, we'll move down into the mid tier, and that's where we have our
lock it in.
Gerson, you got the floor.
Oh man, I mean, it's been a roller coaster with this guy, right? Mr. B. John Robinson. I mean, we just saw Texas get into the playoff 4. I mean, I bet he's like, I wish I could have been in there rather than with this bitch ass coach. Oop.
You're good, man.
You're good.
This coach, what's his name? Arthur Smith. But to give you an idea, I mean, B. John Robinson, he has earned an expected fantasy, and he's 64% of expected fantasy points. And right now, he's getting about 90% of the backfield work in the red zone in the last 2 games. In the first 8 weeks, he only got 31% of the expected backfield expected fantasy points, and then 38% of the red zone expected fantasy points. So the role has changed, you know. He's finally like being the guy, but we know it is scary, right? It is scary. I understand that, but I'm going to go with my gut. And then Tampa Bay is also a major pass funnel defense. I'm not sure if that matters with Bijan, but we do know for sure that Vita Vea, probably their best defensive tackle, if not their best lineman, he's likely out. I mean, he's ruled out, and then Devin White has already been ruled out. I mean, sorry, Vita Vea is questionable, but if he's out, that's even bigger but he missed all 3 practices this week, so he's likely out. Usually, if you miss 3 practices, you're out. Bijan has turned into a workhorse. I mean, Arthur Smith finally got his head out of his ass. I don't know how many ass he has though, because I mean, freaking Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Drake London. I mean, you're messing up good stuff, man. But he's earned 23. He's averaged 23 total opportunities per game since in the last 3 games. So yeah. I'm gonna have a lot of Bijan Robinson, 6,500. I think that's probably the cheapest we're ever gonna get him from here and on.
I agree.
But I kind of like you know, how do you say it? Like you shiver, you kind of squint a little bit. Like what do you call it?
It just makes you a little uncomfortable. Yeah,
you feel a little uncomfortable saying that because it's Arthur Smith. I mean, I wouldn't be. I put all my money. If I go to Vegas right now, I put $100 saying that Arthur Smith is gonna get fired at the end of the season with all the talent he has.
Yeah, if they don't, it just feels like a waste.
Arthur Smith's been playing the long game. He's, given all these opportunities to Bijan Robinson so that he can come out this week and play Tyler Algier 80% of the snaps. He's been playing the long game.
Dude, he can play the long game, but next year's quarterback class is not good. Yeah. This year's quarterback class is loaded.
Agreed. All right, let's move down into the mid-tier here, and I'll kick off the mid-tier. I did have Bijan on my sheet as well, so good call on that. But I have a guy that's probably gonna be lower owned. I know the Chicago defense is pretty good, but David Montgomery, I don't know if y'all knew this or not, he has scored a touchdown in every game that he has started and finished. Now that's the one game he got hurt, obviously didn't score a touchdown, but he's got at least 1 touchdown in every game he's played this year, except for the 1 game he got injured. He's at 6.4. I know Chicago's run defense has been very good, but I think this Detroit offense is pretty good as well. And they will give him the ball when they get down close. I know Gibbs is also there, still touches away, but I do like DeMont to pay off his salary at 6.4 this week. So he is on my mid-tier list.
Yeah, him and Gibbs are both under 5%. I think they're both excellent plays. I'm just going to get the chalky guy out of the way real quick, and that's Zach Moss. He was last week's free square. It didn't really work out unless you were the millionaire maker winner who literally hit like every other spot.
Yeah.
But I'm going right back to Zach Moss this week. We talked about it many times before on this show. Matchup matters, volume matters. And in this case, he had a bad week. You shake it off and you move on, right? That was a shout out to the chat, by the way. But yeah, 5,900, he's still too cheap. I talked about Kamara. I think that I'm probably going to end up jamming in 3 running backs, particularly in cash this week.
Oh, yeah.
But I think you start your cash lineups with CMC and Zach Moss.
Yeah, I think I heard somewhere too that he had Zach Moss had 7 red zone opportunities.
9. It was 9. I looked at. I was going to mention that he had 9 red zone touches.
Yeah, you love that. So that definitely, I think he's in play for sure. Gerson, what you got on your mid tier?
I just want to say, guys, for Zach Moss, like we have to forgive him. Like forgive and forget. Don't be that guy that said, "What have you done for me lately?" I mean, we all remember the first time we drank a beer. We were like, "Eh." And then after that, now look at us. We're drinking beers on the show,
Yeah.
For mid-tier, Zach Moss. But I'm going to Rashad White. I know he's a little because I see the 5.9K price, but. On Zach Moss, but that's $1,000 more. I mean, for Rashad White, the guy's getting volume, and that's what I want in my running back. A guy that gets volume. This game environment, they're gonna have to play catch up. I don't think they're gonna be able to keep up. They're gonna just toss the ball to him. He's been getting. He's basically like he's not a great runner. I'll tell you that. And Jeff knows this. Like he's like a plotter,
Yeah.
But he can catch the ball, and we look for usage, and he's been one of the higher usage running back in the last 4 weeks. I'm gonna go with him against the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons defense is not like trash anymore. In case people haven't noticed, it's actually I think they're ranked like top 12, right?
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but
versus the run, I can look it up.
Yeah, but they're actually pretty decent. But I'm looking more for like a pass catching running back right here. And the guy, if you guys realize, like when they go to the goal line, they use him quite a bit too. He's like a red zone weapon. So I'm gonna be on him. I think his ownership wasn't even that high either, if I'm correct. I got it at around 10%.
For the record,
Yeah,
Atlanta is 10th DVOA versus the run. So yeah, they are.
Yeah, man. They're a pretty solid defense, and a bit like I'm going more for the pass catching role with him. There's a lot of I'm going for the pass catching role, but I don't know. I just think that if I have to get different this week, and the way you can get different is that running back because everybody's gonna play PMC, everybody's gonna play Zach Moss, everybody's gonna play B. John Robinson, and probably one more guy we're gonna talk about in a second.
Yeah, and for the record, I went and checked on FTN. So Atlanta, like I mentioned, is 10th DVOA versus the run, but they are 31st DVOA versus the pass catching running backs. So you're going to get that advantage there with Atlanta because people are going to look at that run defense and think, okay, I'm going to avoid this, but they are giving up quite a bit to pass catchers out of the backfield. So that's a good call. Let's see, Tim, you want to mention your guy there in the mid tier?
I do. And talk about a guy that makes you shudder a little bit. This is a guy I never really like to play, and that's Joe Mixon. But he has such a good matchup this week against the Colts, 29th DVOA against the run. We saw last week that when they got into the five specifically, it became the Joe Mixon show. But what was really surprising to me, and you guys know I've said this many times on the show, running back targets are a quarterback stat. And last week, Joe Mixon had 7 targets in addition to his red zone work, 5 red zone rushing attempts. So that's like the role we're looking for, right? Usage in the pass game, 20-plus opportunities, favored. They're at home. He basically what we call a 5-box running back, right? Shout out Al Smissel at 6,100. And running,
the 5 box. Check the 5 boxes.
Check the 5 boxes.
Oh. I thought you said something else. I'm like, okay, go on.
Anyway,
Sorry.
yeah, I never am comfortable playing Joe Mixon. He usually never has 2 good games back to back. So if you're willing to overlook that part of it, all the other boxes get checked by Joe Mixon this week.
Yeah. All right, I'll just mention the last 2 guys in our mid tier. I have Javonte at 5.8. I've given up on the breakout for Javonte, but I think at 5.8 in this
dude. You need to stop.
Yeah.
Get some help.
Just give it up.
Stop.
Right? I can't give him up,
man. Some help. Yeah.
I need some help. I need to go to like AA for Javonte.
You're lucky what you did for your daughter was in good grace, but I'm trying to help you here. Stop.
Yeah, I'm stuck on Javonte. And then Tim has Cook at 6,000 also in the mid tier. Let's move down into the value tier. And I'm curious, Tim, because you got both of them listed there. So I want to hear your thoughts on the 2 guys from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, the big news today, obviously, is Pacheco is ruled out. I think that CEH will be chalkier, but I actually think McKinnon's the better play. I think the Chiefs are going to struggle. He talked about it a little bit with Patrick Mahomes. I think there's a real good chance that the Buffalo Bills get up early in this game. And Kansas City's basically throwing the whole time. I don't like in games. CEH is when he has played well, it's because they've been way ahead and he's getting 15 or 20 touches. But every time he gets game scripted out, they are like, just sit on your bench. You got your 8 touches. You're good. We're keeping in Jerick McKinnon. So if I had to pick one, it would be McKinnon. Normally, you would think it would just be an absolute lock to play one of these guys. But I don't think it is. I think there's a guy I'm going to talk about here in a little while that I think is the guy you want to play on this side. But I do think McKinnon does give you a lot of upside because of his pass catching role at 4,800. So gun to my head, pick one. I'm going McKinnon.
Yeah, I like that call. And I think McKinnon is used on the passing down work, obviously, but because he is also a better pass blocker than CEH is. CEH has been he not only can he not block when he gets in position, but he forgets to get in position. Sometimes he gets Patrick Mahomes killed. So you do that once or twice, and they're going to put you on the bench, and you ain't going to see the field. So I agree 100% that McKinnon.
Yeah, just one quick thing I wanted to add to that. So far this year, Jerick McKinnon, 26 targets, CEH 9.
9, yeah.
Agreed. He's just they don't just use him that way, man.
I'm just going to mention the 2 other guys I have that you don't have, Tim, and then I'll have you mention your guys so we can move on to receiver. Jerome Ford versus Jacksonville, just a good matchup and a good price, good pivot off some of these other guys, maybe a little bit chalkier. And then I have a very, and Jamie's in the chat. I saw him. I'm going to mention his boy, Roshan Johnson. He's been the conductor of that train. Now, it's a little bit risky because I think that entire backfield is now healthy. so you can't really say for sure. But Roschon Johnson, for the first time all season, led the team in snaps last week. As far as running backs go, I think he had 70% of the snaps. But Khalil Herbert is back. Donta Foreman is there as well, so they're probably going to mix in all three of them. But I think Roschon Johnson, if I had to pick one of the three, I'm taking Roschon. And then Tim,
you just gave me like a big old like orgasm of his life, dude.
yeah,
Jamie loved Roschon. This guy, he sleeps with like a voodoo doll Roschon, like poking him when he gets a yard per carry.
So I feel like Jamie in the chat just named every Taylor Swift song that I'm aware of, except for the one that relates to my next play, which is Blank Space. Because if anybody can find some blank space, it's Keaton Mitchell on the Ravens. This dude is absolutely electric. And this week, it is going to be a rain game in Baltimore. There's a 100% chance of rain. Geoff, I know you kind of live in the area. Maybe you can touch on that. But everything I've looked at said this is going to be a rain game. They're going to rely heavily on Gus and on Keaton Mitchell. And you're asking which one of these guys do I think could go off for 20 plus? I'm going to go with Keaton Mitchell. He's a little cheaper. He's a lot more explosive. And, you know, his target, I was looking this up while Gerson was talking. His snap count has gone up almost every week, right? He started off around like 18%, 24%, 36%, 46%. Now he's playing more snaps than Gus Edwards. So everything's trending for him to have that rookie breakout post-bye where he just has, you know, 25 plus DraftKings points.
Yeah, and just to go on the weather thing, it definitely is supposed to rain here. We actually had plans to go to a light festival, you know, for Christmas and all that, and we canceled our plans a week ago because they were already saying it's going to be a washout all Sunday. So it's going to rain all day and be absolutely miserable. So yeah, that's a good call on Keaton Mitchell for sure. All right, let's get to receivers.
And now, wide receivers.
All right, Gerson's raising his hand here. So Gerson, why don't you kick it off here?
Dang, I totally didn't realize that I have another running back, but I have a joke on. You gotta let me say my jokes, dude. First off, when it comes to weather concerns, when you're looking up Washington D.C. and Washington, make sure you're looking up the right area.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I don't know what they're talking about. It's clear weather in Washington D.C. Inside joke, but and then yeah.
You gotta explain
and the other joke is I don't know any Taylor Swift song. The fact that you know Taylor Swift song is amazing. Like if you were to put a Taylor Swift song on the radio or anywhere, I'd be like, I don't know the name of it. Like I really don't. I've listened, I've heard it, but I don't know the name of them. So shout out to Tim.
All right, Gerson, go ahead and give us one of your elite receivers while we're at it.
So I'm not gonna steal your guy, Jeff. And even though you didn't put him on your list, we know he's your guy, so we're just gonna let you talk about him. You know, I mean, but I'm gonna go with Michael Pittman, man. I love what he's doing this season. Even though the reason why I think he's elite is his price, 7.3K. He's getting heavily targeted. And we talked about it in 44 over under. The total has been going up, like Tim said. I think with no Jonathan Taylor, this offense looked a little different, obviously. But we depended on Zach Moss last week. It didn't work out. They went to Pittman. They went to down, but obviously he couldn't come down with target. But I think Pittman right now, his value at 7.3K, he's playing like an elite wide receiver. A lot of people don't want to give him the credit, but he is in his contract year. So I think he's going to keep playing that level. I love the matchup. I mean, cornerback wide receiver matchup is up there in top 5 for me. I'm gonna go with him. And the ownership kind of says it too. I don't know if a lot of people are going to be able to pay for the elite pricing at wide receiver this week. You have CMC. You have Bijan, you have Kamara. You want to fit those studs. Those guys are going to get opportunity. I mean, the only other wide receiver that I feel comfortable with is Stephon Diggs. And that's because in the game environment, he is at 8.6. Stephon Diggs can legit break the slate. We know that. But it's just crazy to say that you want someone other than CMC to break the slate, you know?
Yeah.
But that's just my thought process with my roster building right now.
Yeah, I like Pittman as well. He's one of my favorite plays as well in this.
He was your lock of the week last week. You were all over that one. Not just your lock of the week, but you called out that Tennessee was going to get ahead on the back of Tennessee was going to get ahead on the back of Derrick Henry, and they were going to have to throw 1,000,000 times to Pittman. And I was like, God damn, Geoff called the whole thing like exactly the way it was going to happen. So I'll tell you what I didn't think was going to happen, and that's what Gerson kind of touched on a little bit earlier, is that Jamar Chase found a way to get through to Jake Browning. Dude, just get me the ball. Find a way to get me the ball. I will make stuff happen. And so I love Pittman this week, but I'm going to definitely have some Jamar Chase at 7,600, particularly in my Browning stacks. Can he repeat the performance from last week? Probably not. But they still get an excellent matchup against the Colts, who have been very giving to number one wide receivers. So I think, he's got that slate breaking upside. Again, I think Pittman will be much more popular. Let me look up what I have for their percentages, but I don't think Jamar Chase is going to be very highly owned. Yeah, I have him around 9%. So at that point, I think he's a great play. I really do.
Yeah, good call. We had a question in the chat real quick. Alave, have y'all heard anything? I heard he had the flu, so I think he's going to try to play that.
He's going to play. He's likely to play.
Yep, I agree.
Trust me, if you have the flu or the cold, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, now soccer, that doesn't exist because they play in a foreign country and they have different kind of stuff. I don't know. And they fake injuries when they get down. So, yeah, they have stuff to get you over a flu and cold, man.
Yeah,
they do.
All right. So we will stick in the elite tier. And this is the guy that has largely been known as a boom bust kind of guy. But lately, I mean, find somebody that loves you the way Baker Mayfield loves Mike Evans right now. I mean, he's absolutely crushing it lately. 10 targets, 12 targets, 12 targets, 9 targets, 25 points, 32 points, 29 points. Absolutely crushing it. I don't think I've played a Mike Evans a single time this entire season, and I don't know why I haven't. But at 7.7, so he's right in that little range with Chase, obviously, and Pittman. If you want to be different and play less chalky, I think Mike Evans is the way to go. He always gets overlooked, even by myself. I didn't realize how much he'd been putting up lately until just this past weekend. So I love me some Mike Evans this week.
So you know how you said find someone that likes Mike Evans more than Baker Mayfield? There's a guy named Jeff Lambert. He used to write articles for Good for True. I think he might love Mike Evans more than Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, in DFS, I never played him as much because I was afraid that I'd be on the wrong side of Mike Evans. But lately, he's been absolutely smashing.
I don't know. We might have somebody in the value tier at wide receiver that might be more the apple of somebody's eye than even Mike Evans.
Yeah, you might be right.
We're going places, guys.
All right, so let's see. Trying to move along here. I'm going to mention a couple more of the elite guys. The Sun God, 8.2 versus Chicago. Obviously, he's always in play. I think Gerson alluded to Keenan Allen earlier. I think he's also in play, 8.6. He also mentioned Stephon Diggs. Gerson's got literally every
he does have a ton of ones.
He's got Justin Jefferson and Deebo Samuel there as well. Let's move down to the mid-tier, Tim. Who do you got for your mid-tier?
So this guy was almost my lock of the week, but the last time he was my lock of the week, he stunk it up. And so I kind of am like, I'm not going to do that to him again. And that's DJ Moore. I absolutely love him in this spot. I talked about it. Detroit has given up the 4th most points to wide receiver over the last 4 weeks. He is Justin Fields' #1 guy at 6,500. Even a couple weeks ago when they played, he had 22 DraftKings points. But the more important part for me was that the volume was there, right? 13 targets last week, 9 targets in the last game against Detroit, 9 targets against Carolina. It's been really consistent. I feel like you're getting a 7,000 plus wide receiver at 6,500.
Yep.
So, DJ Moore, absolutely one of my favorite plays on the whole slate.
Yeah, I think with his last game versus Detroit, he had 7 for 96 and a touchdown, and that was in Fields' first game back from injury. When I think he only threw the passes like 25 passes, but I think 10 of them went to DJ Moore. So, I like him a lot as well. And let's see, Gerson, give me one of your mid tiers, and then I'm gonna hit the drop.
I mean, I'm going with Garrett Wilson. I know it's not looking pretty, but I'm going for him more for the talent that he has and what he can go out there. The matchup, to me, I'm not too worried about it. Zach Wilson's likely to start, right?
Yeah, definitely.
He's definitely starting. They're not gonna. Tim Boyle gone. I don't even know. I can't even name the other quarterback behind him probably. But Zach Wilson's likely to start. He's sling. Who?
I thought it was Trevor Siemian, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's Simeon. Yeah.
He ain't starting over Zach Wilson. I mean, unless you want a bunch of New Yorkers killing Robert Saleh, I don't know about you guys, but I seen the New Yorkers. I don't really want to deal with them. But Gary Wilson at 5.5K is ridiculous, man. That's the low. I don't think I've ever seen him that low since like opening season, like when he was a rookie, when he was probably like 4K or something. I mean, the guy is so talented at 5.5K. I'm trying to get contrarian with him. I don't know how much I'll have him. I'll probably have like 10 to 15%, but there's so many other good plays. I think
I was kind of shocked that he's coming up as the highest owned wide receiver. And obviously that may change before we get to Sunday, but I was a little shocked by that. I think he's a good play, but man,
ownership is ridiculous. Yeah, and it's because of that price.
Oh, he is the highest. Wow.
Yeah,
I know. I was really shocked.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Oh, it is against Houston though. I mean, that's a high paced environment. So
right,
it is against Houston. So that's for sure. I can see that, and they're gonna have to play catch up. Houston defense is not all that great on their pass defense, obviously, and we've seen them get into shootouts with other teams. By the way, I got to give a special shout out to the Texans. I mean, you guys had balls to do what you did. A double. I don't know how you did that, but good luck. But it's working out. CJ Stroud is paying off for sure.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, Will Anderson's a beast too.
All right, and Gerson had so many elite tier receivers that I almost missed Tim's lock of the week.
Lock it in.
So I mentioned the big news is Isaiah Pacheco is out. Everybody's scrambling to decide if they want to play Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Jerick McKinnon, but the right play is Rashee Rice at 5,400. His volume has increased every week. He had more targets last week than Travis Kelce. I said, you guys know I love escalating snap counts. 57%, 67%, 69% over the last 3 weeks. He is their number one wide receiver. He's really the only person outside of Travis Kelce that's getting targeted in the red zone. He is set up for an absolute smash spot this week. I told you guys I could easily see him going over 100 yards and a touchdown. At 5,400, that's just too damn cheap. So the game script, like I said, I expect the Chiefs to be behind, have to throw the ball. He's probably my favorite stacking partner with Patrick Mahomes. He will be pretty chalky, but I think for really good reason. If the Chiefs are able to stay in this game, it's probably going to be on the back of Rashee Rice.
Yeah, one thing I'll say, because you mentioned Pacheco is out, so the Chiefs kind of switched their whole game plan this season, going a little bit more run heavy, playing really good defense. Over the last couple of weeks, their defense has struggled a little bit. Now, obviously, Pacheco is going to be out. They're going to go back to old school Patrick Mahomes slinging it, and I think Rashee Rice is going to be the one to benefit from all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, but can we say that their defense struggled a little bit because they've been out there so many times? I mean, that offense is not looking good at all.
That
offense, I think they scored what's called. I think they scored less than 20 points, the most in the last 5 weeks, than they have in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
With Patrick Mahomes at the helm. Yep. So, I mean, I do respect what you said, Geoff, but it makes me wonder, like, this game can go either way. I mean, it can go very, very good, and it can go very, very bad. Yeah. But I love the Rashee Rice call. I honestly think Rashee Rice can have a 25-point game in this game. And I'm not saying that he's going to have it. I'm just saying I believe that he could have it.
Yes, that upside. All right, I'm going to just mention the guys I have in the mid-tier so we can move on to the value. I had Sutton, who did well for me last week. I know it was a big decision I had to make, thanks to Gerson for shouting out on the chat that I should go Sutton because it paid off. Zay Flowers at 5.7 I like. And we also had Gabe Davis at 5.8. Tim has Gabe Davis.
Yeah, big game Gabe. I'm feeling it.
Yeah. All right, let's move down into the value tier, Tim, and I'll give you the floor here because I think you were talking about this guy when I was talking about Baker Mayfield loving Mike Evans.
I am, yeah. Nobody we talked about it at the top. There's nobody who loves a wide receiver more than Joe Flacco loves Elijah Moore. Like it's just like it's the Bugs Bunny like hard eyes, as much as you can hard eyes for another dude or whatever. But yeah, That's what they have, the relationship that they have. 12 targets last week. I looked it up. He had the second most air yards in the entire league last week. Just absolute ridiculous numbers. Yes, some of them were 4 feet over his head, but there's no doubt Flacco, particularly once Amari Cooper went out, Flacco was looking for more on basically every drop back. So, if we know, I think Joe Flacco is going to start. We haven't officially been told, I don't think. But assuming Flacco starts, I think Elijah Moore is an absolute lock, particularly in cash games. That volume, is just insane at that price. So, if DTR starts, I'm a little hesitant, but he's so cheap, man, and particularly with Cooper's not going to play.
I'm not going there.
Yeah. But if Joe Flacco, it's just an auto lock, right? Like, yeah, that's his name, right? Kevin Stefanski. If he comes out and he's like, before Sunday morning, Joe Flacco is going to start, just lock in Elijah Moore, man. This might be one of those times, we'll talk about another guy here in a second, where you might want to leave yourself $100 to be able to make a last-second swap so you don't have to redo your whole lineup.
Yeah, good call. The other guy I have in the value tier, I'll go with JSN at 4.1 versus my 49ers. I mentioned on the show quite a few times that the slot is a spot that we struggle in. We've gotten a little better. They've done some shifting around. They move Aubrey Thomas outside. They move Lenore inside. So it's been a little bit better over the last couple of weeks, but we do still struggle in the slot. And at 4.1, JSN has been coming on pretty strong lately. That price is just way too cheap, I think. So I think JSN could have a monster game against us at a very, very cheap price. So JSN is my value. And I guess I must have sniped your guy there, Gerson. Did you like JSN as well?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have a question for you, Geoff and Tim. I have a question. So I'm asking for a friend named Jason Aguirre.
Kind of looks like
you. Kind of looks like me. Maybe it might be his brother actually asking the question. Are you worried about Geno's injury? Like the picture they did and everything. Like, do you think he's gonna be okay? Like with the Seattle team? Like,
I've heard.
Start him in fantasy.
Can you start Geno in fantasy? I would be worried about starting Geno in fantasy.
I don't know.
I've heard more and more rumblings of Drew Lock potentially getting the start here in this game, which could throw a lot of things off.
I'm gonna freaking go. Jason Friend's definitely gonna have to go adjust. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I got it.
I am not feeling good about Geno this week. Just real quick so we can move on. Oh, go ahead, Gerson.
So I have London, but again, I'm gonna make it very short. I don't feel great. It's Arthur Smith and it's Desmond Ridder. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's it. Let's get the defense.
Defense.
All right, Tim, take it away.
Yeah, I think the chalk defense this week is going to be the Cleveland Browns, 3K. They get Jacksonville with CJ Beathard. To me, that's just too good a spot. Jacksonville is basically number 1 in the league in defense in a number of defensive categories, but most importantly, they give up very few touchdowns. So I haven't pulled it up real quick right here. Jacksonville is projected 15 total. So that's just too damn cheap. The only other team I had is if you have an extra $400. I also really like the Ravens in this spot. I mentioned it's going to be a rain game. They get Matthew Stafford coming across for a 1 p.m. game in the rain. He has traditionally not played well outdoors or specifically in bad weather. So I think this could be, we know the Ravens are arguably, if not the Browns, the Ravens are probably the best defense in the AFC. So I think it's a really good matchup. This is a week where you might want to try and find the extra money to pay up for defense because they're just both in such a good spot.
Yeah, I like both those defenses as well. Gerson, pick one of your defenses since you listed all the defenses.
Well, I have to when Tim knows nobody listens to anybody else but Tim for defense. So
I will say, hold on, let me stop real quick because you're 100%
like I said,
right.
Nobody listens to T. They only listen to Tim. So stop. Let's stop the show for Tim on defense. Go on.
No, what I was going to say is last time you were on the show, I poo-pooed your Denver Broncos call, and then they ended up upsetting the Chiefs and being like,
Start it. Yeah, Denver's defense. So, what's up? Sick call of the week.
I am giving you the floor, Gerson. What defense should we play?
Well, it's actually based on the So based on Geno Smith, so if he doesn't play, if Drew Lock plays, I think I'm going to have a lot of San Francisco 49ers defense.
Ooh,
I
I like
mean,
that.
3.7K, obviously going to pay for 7 more. Yeah, $7,000 more than the Cleveland Brown, but it might be worth it. I mean, Drew Lock is not that great of a quarterback. I think, to me, Geno is like kind of like an Alex Smith clone. He's a very, let's just get it done. But Drew Lock is more like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, oop, sorry, first F bomb, and then boom. And DK Metcalf, while he had a tremendous game and he decided to do sign language and all that, you're not going to be able to do it with Drew Lock, dude. Like, I mean, and the game, I think the total has been going down too, if I'm correct, for the
they all know Drew
Seahawks.
Lock's going to play.
Yeah.
It's because of the Drew
Yeah,
Lock.
so I mean, I go with them. I do want to say the New York Jets are very interesting at 2.9K.
Mhm.
They're 2.9K for one of the top defense that we've been all season.
Yep.
But obviously, with Zach Wilson back, can they maintain that? I mean, it's hard because we know Zach Wilson, he can turn the ball over anytime. But 2.9K is pretty cheap. But obviously, Tim is the defensive god. Bow down. And bow down.
I did have one defense that I want to mention. I mentioned earlier them struggling, but I think Gerson is right in the sense that they've been struggling because their offense has been struggling. And that's Kansas City, and mainly because Josh Allen is a turnover machine. I mean, he's good for like 2 turnovers a game. If Kansas City can do that to him at 2.6, I think they're a viable defense as well. All right, let's get to the stacks.
Going4two.com's weekly stack report.
All right, Tim, why don't you take the floor here and give us your stack?
Go to Gerson first because I'm going to change my stack since he took mine.
Oh, okay, Gerson, go ahead with your stack.
Well, I took yours.
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
It's a similar stack, but go ahead, Gerson, give us yours.
So, like I said earlier on, you want to get different. You're gonna have to get different at other positions, like rather than like the running back can be hard to fit in. But if I'm going like cheaper at running back and I'm fitting in this stack, I have to have the stack because I think it's the highest over the highest total game. It's the best game environment and everything. And I'm gonna do Josh Allen, Kincaid, Diggs, and Tim Boy Rice. I love Rice. I think he's a very talented wide receiver. I would draft him in Dynasty in the 3rd round, late 2nd round, and he would sometimes get overdrafted. And I was like, when people overdrafted him, I'm like, mad prop. You see the talent, but I love the stack. This could backfire in a big way though, because you're paying quite a bit for Diggs, Kincaid, and Rice.
Yeah,
but there's no Kelsey. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also really like that stack with Big Game Gabe instead of Stephon Diggs. You can save a little money there as well.
Yep. All right, Tim, you had to do a quick pivot here with your stack. Give us what you got.
I did. I kind of talked earlier in the show about how much I like this spot for the Colts and the Bengals. So I'm going to go with the Bengals side of the stack. Jake Browning does it again, back to Jamar Chase. They have another big game, and running it back with the kind of chalk of the slate in Zach Moss.
Yeah, I like that call. Good stuff. All right, so my stack is Mr. Justin Fields with DJ Moore. We mentioned how Fields just looks to DJ Moore quite a bit, and then bringing it back with Amon-Ra, who we didn't talk a whole lot about, but he's pretty much in play. I think I saw a stat that he's got 95 yards receiving or a touchdown in every single game this year. That's consistency right there, and he's not the highest price guy in the slate, but he'll give you consistency week in and week out. So that is my stack of the week, and now it's time for the sick call.
And now the sick call of the week.
Tim has got a tight end to the sick call. I'm dying to hear this one.
I do. So I don't really like a lot of the low-end tight ends this week. I think they have a lot of warts. We talked about how much I like paying up for tight end this week. But one name that stuck out to me was Kylan Granson for the Indianapolis Colts. And that's because the Cincinnati Bengals are the worst matchup against tight ends. Or I guess the best matchup, right? They give up the most points. We saw Pat Freiermuth have an absolute like career game against them a couple weeks ago because they leave that middle open in their too high shell coverage all the time. But the one thing that was interesting to me is that they also use him down the field a little bit, which means he does have the potential to break a long touchdown at only 2,600. So the reason I put this is I had a lineup earlier where I only had 2,600 available for a tight end when I stacked every other spot. And it turned out that it was in a Jake Browning stack. So I was like, wait a minute. Jake Browning, Jamar Chase, run it back with Kylan Granson. Nobody's going to have that stack. Nope. And I literally can play chalk in every other position and still have a unique lineup. So that's why.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. Gerson, what you got for your sick call?
Hey, man, I like Kylan Granson. I have him on one Dynasty League. I mean, I like him. So basically, only the Dynasty degenerate know who he is. Parker Washington, Penn State wide receiver, 6th round pick, special team player. Apparently, he was a Monday night darling, right? Not Monday night. Yeah, Monday night darling, and that was only because of one reason. Shout out to Christian Kirk, my boy.
Yeah,
I mean, he was a good value last year in fantasy football, but he's injured, he's out, and obviously Trevor Lawrence is out. But if Parker Washington at the price he is, I think this is a sick call, man. Like, it ain't like we're trying to get cute here. 3K. I mean, 3K, unless you're not paying. I mean, unless you got Kyle Granson, what, 2,600?
Yeah, you're not getting cheaper than that.
I mean, but Parker Washington, I mean, his ownership is coming is at 0.47 right now.
Yeah.
You know, so that's as sick as we get, man. Like,
that is sick.
3K, and this slate is pretty gnarly, man. Like, you can get different in a lot of ways. Running back, wide receiver, and everything. But I just think that CJ Beathard, he's gonna go out there and be like, "Yeah, is that guy? Boom, let's go." Is that, you know, he don't care. Like, he, you know, those backup quarterbacks that just go in there and be like,
just sling it. Yeah.
What's the worst thing that's gonna happen? I'm gonna be a backup again. Whatever.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. All right, so my sick call in traditional Geoff fashion is one of those receivers that just needs that one play. He was the hero of week 1, if you remember that game way back then when he returned, I believe, a kick for a touchdown. He has been getting more and more involved in the offense. Xavier Gibson for the New York Jets had 6 targets this week for 77 yards. They're finding ways to get him the ball. He's so good in space. And he's one of those players at 3.1. If he can get, you know, a little bit of space, break one big one, he will pay off his salary 100%. So Xavier Gibson, who's exciting, you know, he's a rookie. He's exciting to watch. He's, you know, he's trying to take it to the house every time he touches the ball. So yeah, I like Gibson this week as my sit call. So hopefully he gives me a hit, which I didn't mention. For the first time in Armchair Fantasy history, we hit on all 3 of our sit calls last week. I had Jamison Williams at 3.6. Tim had Jonathan Mingo, and Brevin Jordan was also on the sit call list. So 3 for 3 on the sit call has never happened before. So I wanted to shout that out as well. So let's keep up this pace here and see if we can do it once again this week. I think it's a little bit tougher with the guys we chose this week, but you never know. All right, fellas, that wraps the podcast up. I want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging with us. I know if you're on the East Coast, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. So I appreciate y'all jumping on and hanging out with us tonight. And if you're watching on replay, I appreciate you as well. G, it's good to get you back on the show, man. If you wanted to plug anything, I don't know if you're working on anything, if you're still in the Facebook group a lot or not, but go ahead and give us your Twitter handle and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not doing very much in the fantasy industry. Everybody knows that. Just been busy with life. But hey, man, thanks for having me back. I mean, this is the second time. I feel like Michael Jordan Wizard version. I mean, first time was the Bulls version, but this time my back kind of hurts a little bit. But I do appreciate it. And always, guys, Geoff, Tim, you know, you guys know I love you guys. You guys are all awesome. For everybody in the Going for Two family, thanks for having me here. I mean, I know I wasn't here this season, but to be honest, I'll be back next season.
You were here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was right here. But I'll be back next season, hopefully. Hopefully, everything in life turns gets a little bit slower, you know. But it's always good to be on here, man. Going for Duke Family is really where my heart's at, man.
Good stuff, man. Love that.
Yeah, it's great to have you, G, man. For me, you can find me on Twitter at Keto DFS, and then hop in our Facebook group, DFS Roundtable. Every week, I gather the best information from all around the internet and put it in one thread for you. So come join us.
Good stuff. And I wanted to plug our holiday show one last time. December 20th, we will be having our annual holiday show. We just drink and play trivia.
You didn't give me an invite?
I sent you an invite. You never responded to me, but that's okay, Gerson.
I'm not on Discord. You was on Discord?
He was on Discord. Yep. I tagged you on Discord. Sorry, I thought you were still on Discord. I can still tag you on Discord, so you're still on there. Maybe you just don't go on often enough. But
I'm crashing that party.
hey, you're welcome to come. The more the merrier. But
Bad Santa style.
Got a lot of fun stuff planned, so please come join us. Jump in the chat. Like I said, we're doing some trivia, so it'll be a lot of fun. We're just gonna get drunk and just have a good time. So that's December 20th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this network.
Hey, I want to try something new. If you are watching this show on YouTube and you are still listening, drop who your lock of the week is in the comments. I want to see some locks of the week from the fans, man. Or you got a sick call, throw that in the comments. We want to see who you think we should play.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Tim. We should make that a segment from now on. Have them drop in their locks and their sick calls in the comments. I love it. Good stuff. All right, for Tim, for Gerson, I'm Geoff. Good luck this week, and we will see y'all next week.
Go, Pack, go!